A to the K.
to the K.
To the K.
Hello, one and all. Welcome to the A to the K Wrestling Show. We're back for another week, another glorious week. Back once again, are the A to the K Masters. And it's quite a toppy week of news this week. 14 stories.
Oh, loads going on.
The biggest we've ever done.
And you know what? Funnily enough, I actually thought, it's going to be a bit of a quiet week for news. And then just stuff just kept happening.
Yeah. I mean, about 8 of them are like people returning, people doing this, people doing that.
Triple H, man, keeping us busy.
Papa H.
And in honour of Triple H and D-Generation X Reunion, I've gone retro with the old logo there.
Look at that.
That's like when we first started back in the day, when we were just youngins.
I mean, look at this one now.
Yeah.
Look at that in comparison.
So, yeah, anyway.
Nice little throwback. But yeah, we're going to come at you with some news. Ooh. So, coming up tonight on the Ringside Report. Bray Wyatt returns, but is he alone?
Well, Bo Dallas is set for a WWE return.
What? WWE bringing back the European Championship?
The Good Brothers return to WWE. We did mention a lot of returns this week.
It's going to be a common theme. Seth Rollins, new United States Champion, due to help from Brock Lesnar.
Damn. Madness. Well, AEW reevaluating their ranking system.
What? Jon Moxley signed a new 5-year deal with AEW.
Speaking of Mox, is Renee Paquette rumoured to be signing with AEW?
Ooh. Unfortunately, Aliyah, I can't remember how you say her name, but she is injured.
Mia Yim is, looks like she's leaving Impact Wrestling.
Elias set to return on Raw this coming Monday.
Speaking of returns, Sarah Logan is set to return to WWE.
We haven't done one of them in a while. Speaking of returns, Harry Smith set to return to Major League Wrestling.
I love it. And 17-time world champion set to retire from wrestling.
Wow. Eat that, Ric Flair. Anthony, when's all this coming up?
It's all coming up right fucking now.
Yes, it is. And obviously, we're going to talk through Extreme Rules in a little bit, give our thoughts, our reviews, our reactions. But the White Rabbit was Bray.
Again, we discussed this so much, and it's one of them where you go, it's got to be. Right? It's still awesome to see that moment.
Yes.
Right? It's still a shock in a way, but yeah, epic payoff. And we'll talk about that properly later.
We will.
He's back.
He is back, and it was awesome. But obviously the question is he back just by himself? Has he returned alone? Now, obviously, his Twitter handle, all his social medias were updated to Wyatt 6, Wyndham 6, all this kind of stuff. And in the reveal, there was 5 other characters, if you will, from the Funhouse era who were kind of spotlighted as they went round. So a lot of people now speculating, is this actually going to be a faction? Is it going to be the Wyatt 6?
I hope so. And let's be honest, since Triple H took the helm, we're building some factions. Building some factions.
Faction Wars is back. Oh, yeah. I mean, DX this week.
A satisfaction.
I like it. But yeah, it's going to be a fascinating one to see how it unfolds. Now, obviously, on Raw this week, Bray had a little kind of vignette almost, basically saying he's going to be on SmackDown. Yeah, it
was kind of a recap, really, wasn't it? On look, he's back, but we're not going to do anything this week. Yeah. I'm not saying that's disappointing.
Well, no, I mean, it would have been nice to see him, but by all accounts, he's going to be a SmackDown guy going forward, so it makes sense why he wasn't on Raw.
Fill the massive shoes of The Undertaker. That makes a lot of sense to me.
It certainly does. But also, Bloodline, pretty much staples on SmackDown. Are we going to get some kind of Bloodline versus the Wyatt 6? Maybe it's Survivor Series. Maybe a War Games Survivor Series.
Imagine though a feud between Roman and him where, Roman hasn't got the numbers game.
Well, yeah.
In
fact, he's got 6 now, hasn't he? Has he got 6? Roman, Usos, Solo, Sammy, and Paul.
and Paul.
So who knows? Maybe they bring back Naomi.
They've also
put it in the Bloodline, and they've got.
They've made a little suggestion I mean, it depends on whether who they cast Darby as, I suppose. But they've made a little suggestion that I think it was Rikishi. I'm surprised we haven't put it in the news. Yeah, there's a boss like that. Rikishi suggested that there might be another member of the Anoa'i family that should be signed. I'm not saying they go straight to the bloodline, but
another one of his sons, another one of his daughters. You know what? How many kids that guy got? But yeah. There you go.
Right, so
fascinating.
So yeah, I'd like to see that Bloodline versus the Wyatt Six. Oh, the Wyatt Six sounds a little bit like a Western, but whatever.
Does a little bit. But who else might be possibly joining?
I mean, the brother of Bray himself.
No, we haven't seen him in a while. Yeah. He's obviously available. He's there.
Yeah, I mean, we've had no solid confirmation, but apparently, like, there's heavy suggestion. You know, that's from the. What do they call people within WWE that Bo Dallas will be re-signed, which makes a lot of sense given the family connection and, to be honest, his lifelong connection to the WWE. So
lifelong
generation at this point.
Well, yeah, obviously IRS is their daddy. His
granddad's
brother is Bray.
Granddad's a Hall of Famer as well, isn't he? Let's Google it, shall we?
Googles things. Probably, you know. Not that I'm any kind of wrestling historian here, but I have no idea.
I mean, our generation were very much, you know, IRS, weren't they? So, like, you'd be forgiven for not knowing. Yeah. Blackjack Mulligan.
Okay, fair dues.
So he is a WWE Hall of Famer, and that's their granddad.
Yeah, he teamed with Barry Windham, didn't he? Which is obviously why Windham, they got the name. In fact. But obviously Bo is...
now you're throwing out the historian.
But Bo is obviously in a relationship with Liv Morgan as well. So obviously...
That's true.
Keeping it all in the family.
They were teasing a bit of a gimmick change for Liv. Do you think Liv might actually be involved as part of this Wyatt Six? I think we might have Bo and Liv.
Maybe. It seems like she's kind of losing the marbles a little bit, so maybe she is Abigail after all this time. It'd
be funny though, wouldn't it? Like all the work Alexa put into being like the Fiend's protege.
Yeah, to then just have
mad
Liv.
To not connect that back, but she's on Raw anyway, right?
Well, exactly, yeah. So it's
probably just keep the distance so people forget. Maybe I don't know. But a couple of suggestions I'm hearing a lot, Karl. Sorry, because obviously we're skimming over the Bo Dallas one. It's rumoured he probably will be. You know, that's all you need to know with that one. But going back to the possible faction, you know, there's been some suggestion of like call-ups from NXT being one of them that, I'll be honest, I'm not overly enamoured on, and that's Joe Gacy. Now, the reason I'm not overly enamoured on this is not, I have nothing against Joe Gacy, but he's been a character of his own. You know, he went for that sort of, I suppose, the overly woke thing at first, and then he become like almost like a religious cult leader type thing. Yeah. And I feel like his whole shtick is a bit too Bray Wyatt to be part of Bray Wyatt's faction. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like he needs to continue to be his own thing. I don't know how you feel about that, because a lot of people are like heavily like favouring, like, oh yeah, Joe Gacy, but it's like, that's too similar.
If you think about it, so obviously you've got Bray, you've potentially got Bo, you've potentially got Liv. So that's half the faction already taken up, right? You've potentially got Braun doing something there. So that's
it'd be nice to see him back.
And then it's, do you fill it with the likes of a Joe Gacy or do you populate it with a tag team?
Isn't Braun on Raw?
Yeah, but he's everywhere, isn't he? He just rocks up where he wants.
Yeah, true. Who's going to stop him?
This is true. But, you know, do you fill the last two spots with a tag team? Maybe. I know one of the it was rumoured that two of the other people who were dressed up with the grizzled young vets. I mean,
I like that idea, I must admit.
So obviously
they'll be the tag team to the Usos.
Exactly.
To the Bloodlines Usos, yeah. I like that.
So it's fascinating though to think, is this what we're going to get? Is it the right thing to do as well? You know, is it going to land? Obviously, when he was Bray Wyatt, the cult leader from, you know, the swamp back in the day, that was awesome. And then he kind of moved more horror with it, but very much on his own. So maybe we're going to get some kind of combination now where he's a cult leader of horror gimmicks.
Not from the swamp, though.
Little shop of horrors, what should you call?
Either super intriguing. And you know what? We've always said Bray's like a super creative guy, and I can't wait to see what he does with it. I think, obviously, they see his worth. And he's a WWE guy. Like, a lot of people were like, oh, is he going to go to Impact? Is he going to go to AEW? And by all accounts, they all approached him. But he's a WWE guy, if we're being honest.
He is.
Like, I think I was so made up when, again, and we'll talk about it when we get to it, but I was so made up when we saw that it was him. And even the little nods to Brody, which, again, we'll talk about when we get to it.
Yeah, very much so. So, yeah, just made up he's back. And, yeah, it's exciting. It's fascinating to see if he is back by himself. Also fascinating. Now,
speaking of returns,
I fucking love this. I hope this comes true. Now, this was broke by Zero News on Twitter, who was well, they're an interesting site. They get a lot of stuff right. They've also got a couple of things very wrong as well.
Honestly, at a point, I feel a little sorry for them because they seem to be getting a lot of grief for stuff they've predicted wrong.
Yeah.
And it's like, they're getting grief from like some big guys, so like you end up seeing it like because it's like, and I get it, I'm not sort of trying to have a pop at anyone, but you see like Sean Ross Sapp and all that, like like, yeah, these guys are getting a bit of a rough time at the minute, and I don't know how bad they've been over stuff. But
I've said this before, they've clearly got connections in there because they do break a lot of news ahead of it happening. Do you know what I mean? Like what's happening on Raw and things like that, the match orders and things. So they do get a lot of that stuff right. It's just been some of the big calls, like Drew going over at Clash and things like that.
That's true. I mean,
obviously
again, I understand ones like that, like, and I think people weren't too happy with their sort of those blunt, responsive plans change, but they do
like, change.
We don't know. At some point, that talk might have been the case.
Yeah, and it's crazy to me to think with that one in particular that that's quite a big thing for them to just change last minute. If that was the case,
I mean, that's true. That is true. But again, you never know what's going on in the background. Like, did they not know that they were getting Bray back, for instance, and then they decided, no, we're going to keep the belts on Roman and fulfill that? You just don't know what the mindset was as to why they chose to change.
Well, that's it. Plans change for a lot of reasons. But I hope this one very much happens. Now,
Me too,
Zero News basically revealed that WWE is very keen on bringing back the European title, using it as a main roster championship until NXT Europe comes back.
And then it'll become a Europe thing.
And then it becomes an NXT Europe thing. So I
mean, it makes sense.
I mean, is Drew going to be near the title scene anytime soon? Like, I'd love it if Drew was the guy.
It'd be lovely to make it similar to the way, sorry for the comparisons, because I know people are quite tribalist, right? But be like similar to the way that they put the, what's the fucking belt called in AEW? See, this is how much I care.
All Atlantic.
Yeah, and they put it on Pat.
Yeah,
and I thought it was a good way to like give it that credibility. And I think same thing with the European champion, the inaugural champion, Drew.
Well, that's it.
That's
and I know
fucking boss idea.
A lot of people criticise AEW for the amount of titles and stuff they've got. Like, I would love to see the European title back. I've always said that the prime time, and I know they've kind of already got this with the US and Intercontinental titles anyway, but they don't really use them, is the best time for WWE was when they had that world title, then the Intercontinental title was the slight tier below, then the European title was a slight tier below, and then below that was like the hardcore belts and the light heavyweight stuff for other things that happen.
No, I think you're right. I think especially like if they were going, yeah, it's only going to be on SmackDown and Raw, you go, okay, that might be one too many titles. But the fact that they're looking at this as like, that's how they establish it and then they take it over to Europe when they launch NXT Europe, possibly with Drew doing some dates over there. Fucking brilliant. Get eyes on the product.
He's keen to do that as well, so... I think
once Triple H realizes just how many castles there are in Europe, we might get another clash at the castle. Just poking fun at the media scrum there.
Yeah, I don't think there's that many castles,
only hundreds.
You read a book, Trip. But yeah, so I would love to see this come back. There's been some fantastic European champs over time. We've had obviously William Regal, Al Snow, D'Lo Brown, loads of amazing Eddie Guerrero, Al Snow. Perry Saturn, I think, might have even had it at one point. So yeah, I love the European title being a Brit. So are we allowed to love it anymore? We're not in the EU.
Well, I don't know. It depends how strict they're being, because it's not an EU title; it's a European title.
This is true.
So we're still in Europe. It's not part of the union because we don't want to unionize.
It's allowed. So yeah, I would love to see this come back. So fingers crossed, it does.
Fingers crossed. Speaking of comebacks,
I'm not excited about this one though.
To be honest, this is all right. Like I feel like we might be on the same page here, but I feel like we might get a little bit of heat for this, right? So this week on Raw, AJ Styles had a bit of a back and forth with the Judgment Day, namely Finn, talking about needing friends, needing family, and then hugs Finn, and Finn's like, I knew you'd see sense. He's like, I wasn't talking about you, even though we've just clearly hugged. That was a bit weird.
Yeah.
And then bam, Good Brothers rock up, right? Fantastic, right? Fantastic way of bringing them back. Great pop. I love the fact that it's connected. All this Bullet Club stuff going on. Boss, right? When all that's said and done, it's still just Anderson and Gallows, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean,
this is gonna be like, this is where people might go, you're just being mean, because I know they've got a lot of fans from New Japan, right? This is as exciting as Gangrel and Viscera returning on SmackDown randomly.
That was more exciting.
Right? Because I remember when that happened out of nowhere, and I was like, you never guess what, Karl? This has happened! And then after like a few minutes, you're like,
It did happen.
And it's like, I love the what they're doing with it and the storyline with it, but all said and done, are they just going to be what they were previously?
Yeah.
I feel like this will fizzle out a little bit once they've not got the Bullet Club thing going on.
Yeah, they've come back as the OC, which is what they were anyway, and they're trying to feed into AJ versus Finn as like, a bit of a Bullet Club thing there. But all in all, it's that quote that we always say, isn't it, from 10 Things About You? It's like, I know you can be overwhelmed, but you can be underwhelmed. You ever just be whelmed? Exactly how I felt. It was like
totally and utterly whelmed.
But it's not you, and it was like, hey, it's these guys again.
Yeah,
wow.
And I'm all for like shocking returns, and they're not a bad addition to what has been not the biggest tag team roster in the world in WWE lately. But I just worry that like after this direction, which you've clearly got a direction for them and a purpose for them right now, after this, what are you going to do?
What's next? Yeah.
And I am more than happy to be proven wrong. I hear so much about these guys at New Japan and on the Indies. I've yet to see it.
No.
When they've landed in Impact, when they've landed in AEW briefly, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I said this in AEW at the time, and again, I get a bit of heat for it. It's maybe a little unfair, but they're just like the friends with the right people.
Yeah,
they're not the people.
No,
they're just friends with when they were there with the Elite with Kenny Omega, and it's like, so Kenny Omega's the cool guy, and you just happen to be his mates.
Yeah, and
it's the same with AJ again. It's like they just make friends with the right people.
Yeah,
like
flies on shit.
So I'm like, no offense to them, but they're not the draw. They're part of the team, but they're not the draw.
You know what is fascinating though? The only thing that has piqued my interest about this, as I said, I was very just like, oh, they're back. Wow, the crowd goes mild. The thing that is fascinating is Karl Anderson still holds a title for New Japan.
That is fascinating.
And they retweeted WWE's post on Twitter that they've returned. So what does this mean?
Tony's going to cryptically tweet about how people have like treated him wrong, probably.
Well, I mean, we haven't really mentioned it on this, but while I don't think it's a news item, but while you mentioned that, by all accounts, obviously DX returned on Raw this week with no Billy Gunn. Sans Billy Gunn, sans Daddy Ass.
Oh, Corey Graves throwing some shade there,
yeah. He works doing something with office supplies right now.
Actually, that was quite funny.
That was quite good. But by all accounts, so Road Dogg took to Twitter or wherever afterwards and was like, well, WWE did everything they could to get him there.
I'm super surprised by
Tony's
that.
playing hardball now.
I don't even know if it's Tony though, because apparently, and I'd love to quote sources, but I don't bother doing that ever. Somebody was saying that when Billy Gunn was interviewed recently and they mentioned WWE, he was like, "No, fuck that place," kind of approach. Like, it sounds like he might be done with WWE. I don't know why he'd be so upset with them, but
it's interesting that though, because he was there for the Hall of Fame stuff,
and he was with
he was already with AEW then,
yeah.
so I can't see because you can understand if
that's before the relationship soured,
Yeah, but that's what I mean though. Like, you can understand if it soured while he was there and like because they fired him and stuff, but. Yeah, seems like he didn't have a problem with it before, but anyway.
For the record, though, I think the way I love the little quip from Corey Graves. That was funny. The way Road Dogg handled it, I thought it was boss when he let the crowd do it. I thought that was brilliant. Yeah. You can't have Billy Gunn there. That was a nice way of handling it.
Well, exactly. So yeah, that was a nice touch. And speaking of Raw, things that happened, we've got a new United States champion, Anthony.
Yes,
Seth
we have. I was very surprised at this.
No, I wasn't. Because I captained them in our in the fantasy faction that we played.
Get in!
So once again, we're the reigning champs, and we're now top of the table for week 1. Well, I mean, it's not finished yet. SmackDown's still to come, and AEW obviously, but
that
for now,
faith in Seth really saw us right there.
Well, that's it. So I think I kind of predicted this was going to happen. We spoke about Brock Lesnar coming back at Crown Jewel and potentially going up against Lashley. We talked about it on the show last week.
Yay.
So when it was like, okay, Seth just lost in the fight pit. Sorry, spoilers. And then now he's all of a sudden getting a United States title match. I was like, hey, he's going to win this. But I was like, he won't win it super clean, so what's going to happen?
Random, though.
Brock?
Random.
Was
like
random.
To go, well, you've just lost the fight pit. How about a title match with Bobby Lashley? Like,
well,
okay.
Interestingly, they announced it before Extreme Rules.
Oh, right, okay.
But even that, I thought was random at the time anyway. But yeah, so fascinating one. But it's interesting now to see where's Seth's fight going to take him, because obviously it doesn't sound like he's going to be going after Roman. That's what he wants to do.
I feel a little bit sorry for Riddle and all this. Like,
yeah,
they're like, win or lose, you get a title match, and Riddle's there like, what do I get? And they're just like, hi.
Yeah, hi. Basically. So yeah, but fascinating. Brock is back. Looks like we're gonna get Brock versus Bobby, and who knows what's next with Seth. Maybe Riddle goes after him again. I hope not, because I feel like that's done now.
How do you feel about Brock and Bobby? I'm not that bothered by it. I'll be honest. I understand why it's a draw and a crown jewel thing, but when you go,
You know I'm a fan of mirror matches, but they have had this match before, and Bobby won.
So many mirrors, Karl.
I know, but I just love looking in them at my beauty. And Bobby, I think, beat him convincingly, didn't he? So it's interesting in that sense. Is Brock going to get?
Well, Brock will win, and then we'll get a third one.
Yeah, the rubber match. So see, but
we will see. Okay, Karl. So AEW rankings. Now, for those of you who recall, back in the day when AEW first kicked off, they operated under a ranking system: wins, losses, draws, etc. And they would actually use that to determine title shots and such. And it was like, we're going for more of a real sports feel. And then he kind of signed like the likes of CM Punk and that, who had a 0-0-0 record. And I'm not talking about UFC. Didn't even work. He had more losses than zeros. But anyway,
this is true.
So he signed people who he wanted to put in the main title scene, and it become more complicated. And we talked about this, I think, back then, that like it's difficult now to include a ranking system when, like, it's handy for story purposes. Like MJF, who has yet to use it, but like he was one of the most highly ranked as far as the ratings went, and never got a title shot until he decided to win the casino thing. And you go, well, that doesn't make sense, and it doesn't make sense, and that could have been a story plot. But nevertheless, Tony kind of abandoned the ranking system. A lot of people have noted it hasn't really been updated since August. It's like,
I feel like Forbidden Door fucked up a lot of shit, but anyway.
Well, apparently he didn't even blame Forbidden Door. I've got a quote here from Tony. I said, Tony, what's going on? He said, be honest with you, Anthony, I haven't updated the rankings lately because I think it's so much has been fluid coming out of the Grand Slam tournament.
So much fluid coming out of the Grand Slam?
Yeah, I mean, well, someone's going to mop it up. So he's blaming the Grand Slam tournament of champions in particular as to the reason the situation has been so, like, he feels like, obviously, the stories have kind of wrote themselves and the ratings have improved, so it's obviously working, but the rankings haven't been an important part of it. And that it basically saying now he's going to be going back to it, and he's going to be looking at it and reevaluating it. Now, he failed to mention, the people he had to like suspend and such, as to maybe that affected the rankings too.
Maybe, yeah.
But
suddenly loads of new entries.
I don't know how you feel about it, because I understand the real sports feel. I understand the kind of going for a UFC kind of thing. I do wins, losses, draws. Wins, losses,
blah, blah, blah,
didn't make sense. Wins, losses, and draws. Right.
That's the one.
But when it's story driven, and you go, well, I'm sorry, Moxley, you just haven't won enough matches. It's just not going to work, is it?
By the way, that's a fantastic t-shirt idea. Wins, laws, drosses. I like that. Yeah. But yeah, to be fair, UFC's ranking system gets a lot of flack as well, in terms of like, well, how this guy's won one fight against someone down there, has he moved all the way up to here, and that kind of thing. So ranking systems are tough. I think it was a good concept, and I'm obviously a big fan of the ranking and stuff. I don't think they utilise it super well. I think they tried to put a shine on the likes of Dark and Elevation by saying, well, that's where a lot of the matches are happening, that then if they win, it affects the rankings.
I was all for that. Like, when Thunder Rosa come along, right? She's my prime example. Thunder Rosa put the time in on Dark to build her rankings, right? Eventually went on to win the title. Eventually went on to... injured? Anyway, but then the likes of CM Punk come along, and they didn't.
Yeah.
So you go, well, you're ruining that point. I didn't mind the fact that you go, well, you're putting eyes on, because people like give Dark and Dark Elevation a lot of shit. I still think that's looking at a modern format. Like, most of the youngins don't watch TV. They watch the internet. They're on YouTube. So have a program on YouTube. That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And draw people in with your high profile stars. But then they didn't. So
no.
The whole thing does need reevaluating, let's be honest.
The time the rankings were the most relevant, and I enjoyed them the most, was when Punk had not long been there, and he started the feud up with MJF, and essentially he got MJF disqualified. They reset the rankings, didn't they? So everyone was back to 0.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
And then MJF went in with a 0 and 1, and he was fuming. And I was like, you could do something like, but even that didn't carry on.
Didn't follow through.
So I think they've overcomplicated it, because it's not just about wins and losses, it's about who your opponent is, and like they tried to factor too much into it so they could get away with a lot more. Yeah. But
plus, the way Tony's mind works, sometimes it'll probably be like, okay, so you can win the match, but to actually rank, you have to like climb the ladder and get the giant one that we've put above the ring for that to go onto your scorecard. Yeah. And you'll be like, fuck you talking about, Tony?
Yeah. I think, honestly, I've got a massive issue with this, and we're doing another segment this week where we're talking about AEW 3 years on, is it better or worse?
Bitchin'.
And I've got a massive issue with how he books lately. He books it for himself. I think he's basically gone, well, I've got all the money and I've got all my toys.
He's got a lot of fucking money.
He's got more fucking money than damn it, Crockett. That's so bad. But Davy Crockett, yeah. But yeah, I think he's ruined it by just bringing in people. And don't get me wrong, it's always good to bring talent in, but it's like, well, how do you justify bringing in fucking what's his face, Bandito, and putting him in a match, for the Ring of Honor title, or how do you justify bringing in?
This is no offense to Bandito, right? But this is a prime example, because you could argue Triple H at the minute is just bringing a lot of people in. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for the audience. Yeah, like who was shouting for Bandito?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, this is what I mean. There's a subset of fans who are proper like, oh, we love wrestling and we love really good wrestling. And Bandito is obviously a fantastic wrestler, but to more of a, I don't know, I hate using the word casual audience, but
it's a weird one, isn't it? Because like, I get what you say about not using the term casual, because you've been a fan since you were like 2.
I don't like referring to myself as a casual fan because I don't watch fucking New Japan and it's like,
because I don't watch everything else.
I'm just
that doesn't make sense to me.
It's a very niche audience, and I think WWE go a lot of the time go the opposite way, and it's worked out well. You've seen Logan Paul be really good. You've seen Bad Bunny and stuff like that, but they go too far into the mainstream and they just start bringing in celebrities all that stuff.
That's not where you want to fish.
And to be fair, AEW did the same. They brought in Shaq and stuff like that, didn't they? So
Shaq and
if there was more, like not really celebrities, but they did the stuff with the American Top Team and stuff.
They did, because it probably was lost on you because you don't watch it, but they did the people from Cobra Kai as well.
Yeah, there you go. So they've done the same with celebrity tie-ins, but yeah, I just think, I don't see how you're not a true fan unless you watch everything and all these, like, because you just do that. And I still am a fan, but yeah, I think it's less about the title tournament and all this kind of stuff. It's, he wanted to bring in these other people and put them in title matches, and how can you justify that if you've got a ranking system? Because how does Juice Robinson get the shot against Moxley? He explained it. Well,
he's got the juice.
He's beaten him in New Japan or whatever a couple of months ago, and it's like, well, all right, yeah, that makes sense, but
it doesn't. Even that doesn't make sense. Like, so are you applying his scores from outside?
Well, exactly. Which is why the rankings didn't fit in that sentence. So yeah, it's a weird one.
So so Tony, sort it out, man. Reevaluate. I know you said you're going to.
I like them, but yeah, they do need some refinement if you're going to bring them.
Yeah.
And speaking of Mox, we just mentioned him then. He ain't going back to WWE anytime soon because he's just signed a 5-year deal with AEW. And what's fascinating about this deal, well, even more fascinating, he's technically been out of contract since July. Now, because he went to rehab and stuff like that, essentially that
like got his time extended automatically.
Yeah. Because he has to make
up the time he missed. I've heard something similar to that before,
or something like that. So he hasn't really been without a contract, but technically his contract was up in July, and now he has just re-signed for 5 years. But what's fascinating is it's not just as talent, it actually specifies in the press release, and I'm guessing in his contract, that he will have some kind of mentorship and coaching role within this. So it's one of those.
Just giving pep talks to Tony.
Probably, yeah. But Mox has been really, really good for AEW. He had some of his own issues to deal with earlier this year. But like this example with the CM Punk incident and cancelling his vacation time to show
honestly,
up and...
so much respect for a few of them, to be honest, but so much respect for Mox. Yeah. Like, sort of, he's essentially carrying that position of the company on his shoulder at the minute while they deal with the chaos that's going on.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's doing it well.
Yeah, and he's very much, you can tell he's significantly happier in AEW doing that than he was doing like WWE and the kind of... And
this is the thing that for me, that this is where it doesn't matter whether you like WWE or AEW, like the fact that he's somewhere he can be happy and do what he loves. That's why we want multiple companies.
Exactly.
If AEW closed tomorrow, there'd be loads of people there who wouldn't go to WWE. Everyone needs a home. All about the love.
It is indeed. So yes, it looks like we're getting Mox for another 5 years in AEW. So a lot of people are very happy with that, and I just hope we don't have to listen to Wild Thing for all 5 of them years.
Yeah,
that's all I'm gonna say.
I
get it. It's you know what I mean? It's like, I know why, because, well, it's a throwback to...
I don't give a fuck.
Who gives a fuck?
Doesn't suit.
Yeah, just stop it. Anyway, so that's Mox, but
I feel like all my stories are a bit like loose.
Yeah.
Well, we've heard that, right? So once again, people inside WWE have believe, and this is the weird thing, because this is how it's been reported. I got this one from Frightful.
Hey,
be even more relevant come Halloween. Anyway, it's people in Fightful have been told by several sources in WWE that Renee is looking to sign with AEW, and the reason that they believe she's headed to AEW is that WWE have apparently approached Renee about returning to WWE in some capacity, to which she said, "Go fuck yourself." Well, she didn't actually say that, but
I can't. I'm in AEW.
But the suggestion is quite heavy that she's while she's been doing her own thing, she's been doing a podcast and killing it on there. She wrote a cookbook, believe it or not.
She did.
I believe she did some of the bits with some of the celebrities, like show wise, but yeah, she's been sort of doing her own thing and killing it, and it looks like she might be involved. We don't know in what capacity, but in AEW alongside Mox. It might not be surprising to some, but
well, again, it would make a lot of sense. Obviously, her husband works there, Bestie and Soraya.
It's weird though, isn't it? Like
I will remember how to say this one of these days.
The wrestling world, you go, oh, it makes sense that she works there because, like, imagine. Like, if you did that in real world, like, I was like, well, it makes sense that your wife works with you now, Karl, because you live together.
Yeah.
It's like,
well, why
doesn't happen in any other capacity, does it?
True,
but in wrestling,
but,
you're like, well, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I think because they kind of met in that industry.
Yeah, I know.
They're like, oh yeah, my wife's a traffic warden. She's now in AEW though. What?
Well, I work here.
It's got to have some kind of tie-in. But yeah. I think she'd be a fantastic get for AEW. Obviously, she was very well loved and respected for her time in WWE, and I think it would be awesome. And obviously, she's got close friends who are in AEW now as well, and obviously a husband and stuff. So I think that's what she wants to do. She's had a bit of time away from the business, as you said, doing cookbooks and the like. So
yeah,
you know.
So I mean, I don't know how you felt as a commentator or a backstage interviewer, but like you say, I think she'd offer, like, in terms of that sort of talent, I think she'd offer a great asset to AEW. In
Absolutely, agreed.
I know you probably like not as much as Kathy Kelly.
Happy Kathy is back. So a bit of somber news, unfortunately, for Aliyah.
Who?
Is it Aliyah? Is it Aliyah? Why can't I say names?
I'm sorry. You were going for somber news as well, and I'm like,
no, you just have to fuck it up.
I'm sorry.
So obviously, she had a very great experience recently winning the women's tag titles with her partner Raquel Rodriguez, beating Damage Control. And she's now revealed, because we haven't really seen her since, is that she actually got injured in that match. And it was not like at the end of the match, it was kind of pretty early on. And she decided to kind of fight through any kind of pain to, I think she was quoted as basically saying that, you know, she knew these opportunities wouldn't come up all the time, and so she had to just carry on and dig deep within herself to kind of get herself to the finish line, if you will. And I made a note of it. It's she has an elevated first rib and an AC sprain.
The old AC.
No idea what those things mean, but it's very sad because obviously she said, "I don't know what this means for me now. And I don't know what's next. I just hope that I get to go back to wrestling soon." So I don't know how long that means she could be out. I don't know what that means for the women's tag titles. Yeah,
you gotta hope that it's not too long. I mean, I feel like she was just getting started, so it's a shame that it's cut short like that. Yeah. So and, hopefully, I'm hoping they don't vacate the titles. I'm hoping it's just it's a short term thing. It wouldn't be the first time we haven't seen the tag team titles in a while. Well, exactly. So it's not like they can't hold them for a bit,
And fingers crossed, like, even if it is, like, I hope that they can even just put a match on or something where she doesn't get tagged in and something happens, or, you know what I mean, and they can get the belt off them without kind of saying,
if Cody can wrestle with a torn pec.
We're not advising this, Cody, that was stupid. So, yeah, obviously wish her a speedy recovery, and such bad timing. Best.
Oh, Karl. It seems Impact are having a bit of a shocker at the minute. That's probably unfair. There's been a lot of contracts expiring lately. So the notable one this week is obviously Mia Yim, who her last match I believe was with Mickie James. Mickie James getting the rub, but that was Bound for Glory, and her contract has now expired with Impact, and it seems that she's not renewing. Now we don't know what the future holds for her. What we do know is Impact Wrestling have actually said that she was a great addition to the locker room, and she's always welcome back. Thing. So it's nice to see that the relationship's still really nice, even though she chose not to renew a contract. But you got to wonder, is it AEW bound? I'm not just saying that because everyone likes to say it. I'm saying that because isn't she with Keith Lee?
She's married to Keith Lee.
She's married to Keith Lee. So there's the connection there. Moxley did it.
Well, yeah. So there's that angle, but obviously featured heavily in NXT under Triple H. Does she go there? What do they do? options.
But yeah, I mean, the world's lobster, as it were.
Yeah, I mean, there was breaking news that we didn't, get in time to add it into the show, so we'll talk about it now. I believe Chelsea Green is potentially being approached by WWE about possibly going back there as well. I think there's a strong desire to bolster the women's roster ahead of 2023.
I mean, Chelsea's been killing it on the indie scene. She worked everyone. Do you remember that? When she pretended her wrist was broken again, she got everyone.
Brilliant, top tier trolling, I'll tell you. But yeah, maybe Mia Yim is another one. And
then naturally we're going to spark the rumours of Matt Cardona heading there because...
I think he sparked them himself. He posted a picture with his old Zack Ryder gear on earlier today.
Oh, really?
So imagine if he goes back as Zack Ryder. After the hell of a run he's had, imagine if he goes back as Zack Ryder.
And then they put him in shocking angles again.
Yeah, imagine.
Well... John Cena's going to sleep with your girlfriend, kayfabe.
Just in a wheelchair.
And you're going to be stuck in a wheelchair and get pushed off a ramp.
Yeah. By Kane for no reason.
But yeah, like on top of Mia, obviously there's Impact's recently had Maria Kanellis and Mike Bennett leave as well, among a few other names. I'm not as familiar with the roster, but it seems there's a lot of people whose contracts expire and they're not renewing. It makes you... I'm not saying there's any... Let's face it, Impact or TNA as it was has been around long enough that I don't think it's in danger.
No.
But there's a lot of talent, there's a lot of shift going on there.
The Good Brothers just gone. They were very heavily in Impact as well. So yeah, a lot of
there seems to be a lot of talent going. Hopefully there's a lot of talent coming in for them to like build new stars that can inevitably go to WWE. Hi AJ.
Yeah, so yeah, fingers crossed it's nothing super serious but interesting times. Now this one is fascinating. So WWE have announced on Raw next week we are going to see the return of Elias. That's right, Elias. Not Ezekiel, not Elrod, Elias.
And what I find really mad with this is Ezekiel and the whole Ezekiel is clearly Elias, but let's all say he's not thing. It got super over. Kevin Owens and Ezekiel sold the fuck out of that.
They did great, to be fair.
So the fact that they seem to be like going, we'll stop fucking around now, we'll bring Elias back is surprising to me because they got more mileage out of that than they really should have.
They definitely did. I mean, the whole thing was garbage, let's be honest, in the sense that they should never have tried to repackage him and stuff, but they definitely made it work and it was very thoroughly entertaining. But I have always been a big fan of Elias. I think he's got loads of potential. So I'm interested to see. I continue to walk with Elias. But I'm fascinated to see Kevin Owens interact with him on Raw when he's back, and do they go into that again, or is they going to keep Kevin Owens away?
Or did they just do the whole flip reverse of it, and he's like, "You're Ezekiel."
Yeah. All right, Ezekiel. We know what you.
Fake beard.
That would be so funny. I really hope that happens. But yeah, I'm delighted to see him come back, and I can't wait to see what happens, who he gets feuding with, and stuff like that. So another big win on WWE.
Indeed. Speaking of big wins.
Does
that work? I don't know. Anyway.
They could have used a better picture.
I know, it's when I saw the picture, I'm like, does that sound like I was trying to make an innuendo of some sort? Anyway.
Terrible.
So, Karl, we might have Sarah Logan returning. And we might have her returning in a capacity that I always thought she'd have suited, that they never actually did. So they're suggesting that she might be coming back as a part of the Viking Raiders.
Yes.
And I always thought that would suit her really well. Obviously, she was, she did really well in the Riot Squad. And it might be that they want to revisit that with her and Liv, the squad, if you will. But so far, we've had a vignette and apparently quite a few more planned, according to Fightful, on SmackDown, in which it showed what looked like the Viking Raiders, like shield type things. And
the shield
it was... And it had a voiceover. It was clearly a woman, and it said, "When the gods speak, I listen. We obey. Valhalla awaits." So obviously, it's part of the Viking theme. It was clearly a woman. They didn't quite show who it was, but it's heavily suggested that it's probably Sarah Logan coming back.
That'd be pretty awesome, to be fair. I did hear a horrible rumor a week or two ago, so maybe that's not the case. I hope it's not, that one of the Viking Raiders got injured again. So I hope not.
Hopefully not. Yeah.
I don't think we've seen them since. But
it seems a bit more of a rumor because I haven't seen it crop up in the old dirt sheets.
In the old dirt sheets. But yeah, fingers crossed that's the case. But yeah, we might be seeing Sarah and her massive wins soon.
Yeah, gone back.
Yeah, you said it. So the next one to talk about Davey Boy Smith Jr., Harry Smith. Looks like he is going back to MLW, which is fantastic news. Obviously, he was there from 2018 to 2020.
He's probably been one of the bigger names on there. Like he was great for them, you know.
Yeah.
Well, a couple of years back, and it's good to see him.
He won like a cup tournament with them. I think he was a tag champ with there as well. So obviously that's really good news. As we know, he did leave and sign with WWE briefly and never got used. And so I think a lot of people have been wondering when we're gonna see him.
Backstage promo.
So I can't understand. I think he was interviewed recently. I can't remember who it was by. But they even asked him kind of what happened there, and he said, I don't know. He was told he was going to be going on SmackDown. He was going to be known as a Stampede Stud, and just never happened.
I was like, they done like a backstage promo, and like 5 minutes after that, they were like, right, so here's your release. What?
So yeah, very, very bizarre. But yeah, I'm happy to see that he's obviously he was in NWA for a bit. He was teaming with Doug Williams. I think he was tag champ there for a bit, but I think I'm not sure whether Doug got injured or what. But yeah, he's going back to MLW, and yeah, wish him nothing but the best. He's obviously super talented.
Right, Adele.
Never mind. We'll find someone like him.
Go.
But yeah, obviously, you know, friends of the show, Georgia. So obviously by association, and obviously we absolutely love the Hart family and the Smith family. So
yeah, well, we've always had an affinity for Davey, haven't we? Which is sort of the reason we started the conversation with Georgia in the first place. But
indeed,
great to see the legacy live on.
Yeah, and he's looking really good as well. He's in the best shape of his life. I think he posted something before saying he's 270 pounds. Only this time he's got abs. So it's not. I love it. It's not just a fat kid. He's it's all muscle and stuff. So
must be nice having abs.
Yeah. Anyway, next one, the final one.
I don't know how you feel about this. 17-time world champion Karl, Alan Nasty Nash, is going to be retiring from the world of toe wrestling. You know this was a thing?
I didn't know this was a thing. I kind of wish I knew this was a thing too.
I know, right? Yeah. And I was like, what? And that's why I needed to mention this, right? So I'm like, this is like some sort of like, silly thing. And you might still go, this is a bit silly, toe wrestling. This guy's travelled the world with toe wrestling. He's like
17-time champion. He's got more victories than Ric Flair.
Yeah. So he's like, anyway, he's 63 now, and he's decided it might be time to retire. Suffering quite an injury in one of his championship bouts, actually breaking 3 of his toes, and having to have them reset, so couldn't compete in the tournament the following year. So yeah, it's a young man's game. Yeah. He's even said that you don't get snooker players that old, do you? So. He feels like it might be time to hang up the toes.
Yeah. Well, you know what they say, there's no business like toe business.
Hey, so I want to give this one a bit of a mention because I was like, when you go like, this is a world that clearly has a fan base that I didn't know this world existed, and it felt like something daft that like 3 people were in on. But like this guy's, he's been Italy, America, Germany as 3 of the ones he's mentioned. This guy's travelled to toe wrestle. This is like a thing.
It's fascinating.
And I didn't know it was a thing. So I'm thinking maybe we start covering toe wrestling as well.
Yeah. I mean, we've got, we'll watch toe wrestling and we still won't watch New Japan. Anything else. But yeah, toe wrestling's good.
Yeah. So for those of you who are fans of toe wrestling and you're like, how do they not know about toe wrestling? Well, sorry. But I do want to acknowledge, one of the best toe wrestlers in the business is looking at hanging up his boots, and a sad day for toe wrestling.
Very sad. And yeah, all the best in your future toe endeavours.
Hey.
So yeah, that was the news. To be fair, considering we did 14 pieces of news, we still made good time on that.
We did.
We're pros.
Do you know what else we made good time on?
Come on,
finishing this delicious beer by Top Rope.
Oh, that's
Top Rope Brewing this week, Karl. They've gifted us. Well, they haven't gifted us. Right? Well, how should I put it?
Yeah, tell.
They gifted us these lovely the big rig. This one's based on FTR. This is an FTR themed one. And you know what? I've been thoroughly enjoying this during the whole podcast.
It's fucking delicious.
It is delicious. And this, obviously, the match pairing for this one, Karl, which I'm now fascinated by, is this is FTR versus the Briscoes. Is what you should watch this with. So this is from Supercard of Honor. But this is like. I think you mentioned it when you were pouring it out. You can say the tropical taste
scent
hit you just from pouring it. But it's such a refreshing beer.
I've been thoroughly enjoying it. Considering it, like what's the volume on it? It's quite a toppy one, isn't it?
It's 5.9%.
It's 5.9 and like nearly 6% beer, but doesn't taste like that, does it?
No,
it's like another light, refreshing beer.
I'll be honest, like so far there's been only one like heavy beer, and even that was nice, but it was a beer.
Yeah, that was the
everything's been like
nearly 10%
really refreshing, like proper. Like I'm like, come the summer, buy a crate of like all these ones that are like fresh summer. You know, it's a hot day and a
garden
beer
party
kind of
sorted, isn't it? And obviously it's their 6th birthday in November as well.
Nice.
So they're going to be releasing 6 brand new flavours. So can't wait to sample all of them as well.
I'm thinking come Royal Rumble time, what we'll do, we'll get 30 of their beers.
Fucking yes, I'm down for that. That's a genius idea.
We'll call it the Rumble Pack.
Oh.
I might suggest this to Top Rope, right? Crate of 30, the Rumble Pack. And we'll see if we can get through them.
It's definitely a concept there, isn't it? It's definitely a concept. Maybe that
might be a painful one. I'm thinking maybe 15 each.
Yeah, that's fair. We could do 15 each.
I don't know. I could do 30.
Yeah, probably not.
That would hurt.
A pack each, yeah, that's what you mean. But yeah, maybe we won't play our patent today to the kid drinking game.
Although that was a popular game, absolutely ruthless game. It was a popular game last time we played.
But yeah, all the alcoholics out there absolutely loved it.
Yeah. Anyway, if you're interested in trying this Top Rope beer or any of the others we've mentioned over the last few weeks, Karl, for starters, on social media puts up Top Rope Tuesday every week, so you can look back at some of the ones we've tried in previous weeks. But if you want to get your hands on some of these Top Rope beers, Karl, where can they go?
They can go to topropebrewing.com and they can enter promo code A to the K10 to save themselves 10%. That's A to the K10.
So if you're saving 10%, you might as well buy a load.
Exactly. So yeah. The best way to
That's how I look at it.
So
10% off, I might as well buy 3.
So I think they're doing a bit of work at the minute on their website, getting everything ready for their 6th birthday celebrations. But yeah, make sure you make a note of that code, and when everything's back up and running and they're good to go.
That's the thing. Normally I'd say, I'd buy them straight away, but honestly, it's worth waiting to see what they bring out for the birthday beers. We're excited. We've enjoyed every single one.
They posted a little teaser before, and it was like a poppin' pink lemonade. Like a pink that I'm like, whoa, but it's obviously as a beer, so I'm excited to see. And obviously each of the beers are themed around something, so that's part of the fun as well, to see, well, what is he? What are they theming it on? So I know they're doing a lot of WrestleMania 6 tie-ins as well.
Like it.
So it could be an Undertaker type one, his first Mania, wasn't it? They could be like, I don't know really, could be others.
Well, the intrigue is there. But if you wait, the code will still be working at that point, obviously. But if you wait till the birthday announcement, there'll be another 6 beers then that you can add to the arsenal.
Yes, to the arsenal. No, you drink it.
Oh!
Hey. But yeah, obviously, if you've been watching the show or listening to the show, you know, this is just one of many that they've got available. And then, you know, as Anthony said, six more coming, so you can add to Cold Stone Cream Austin and all the other wonderful ones they have available.
I've got a Cold Stone Cream Austin Cherry.
They do. Pineapple as well. That's going to be next. Spoiler, that's going to be next week's Top Rope Tuesday. We're looking forward to trying that one. Again, with the exotic kind of, tropical flavours. Don't like it on a pizza, but I'm going to like it in a beer, tell you that. And speaking of things that we like our merchandise, so make sure you go to Pro Wrestling Tees. What you can't get is this retro one right now. No, that's proper old school. Maybe we'll do like a retro range one day. We could do like if we make a 3rd logo, right? Then you could do like an Evolution shirt where it just shows you how they've evolved over the years. I like that, but we don't need to make another one. Look at it, it's beautiful. Well, that's true. Beautiful. I mean, the only time we'll make a new one is when I go fully grey, or if I can ever get a beard to grow in. I mean, this is the thing. Like, I feel compelled to not change style too much now. Like, I can't have like a mohawk if I wanted one. Yeah, it's damaging to the brand. You can't do it. No, we'll obviously have to get in touch with the fabulous artist Renee Paquette, I think is Renee Meta. Can't remember what his name is. You just really been art. Really bad at pronouncing. I know. It's the thing. So thank you for joining us, and until next time, we are A to the K, and we're saying see ya.